So, what changes inside a normal man at 30? Usually less than people think. That's the reality. Most men at 30 are not becoming warriors, philosophers, leaders, or highly disciplined machines. Most are just adapting to pressure while carrying exhaustion they don't fully talk about. A normal 30-year-old in almost any country now is usually waking up to repetition. Wake up, work, commute, bills, phone, stress, sleep, and then repeat. That's the actual system. And what changes after 30 is not some, magical masculine awakening. It's just that the illusion of endless possibility starts dying. At 22, a man can still imagine 10 different futures for himself. Become a football player, an entrepreneur, an artist, a millionaire, jumping from one goal to another, different countries, different lives, surrounded by many women. At 34, most men already know roughly where they landed in the hierarchy, not perfectly, but enough. Enough to know whether they are respected or ignored, whether they built useful skills or not, whether they are financially stable or permanently anxious, whether women genuinely desire them or merely tolerate them, whether they have social value or are easily replaceable. That awareness changes men psychologically, not because it makes them wise, but it removes ambiguity. And honestly, guys, many men after 30 are simply surviving systems they entered accidentally. Another thing changes. People become less emotionally supportive toward men after 30. Society has more sympathy for a lost 21-year-old than a lost 37-year-old. There's a big difference. A depressed 22-year-old gets told you're young, you're figured out, you have you have a lot of time. But a depressed 38-year-old often gets silently judged. That pressure accumulates, and because of that, many men stop speaking honestly about themselves and they learn to perform stability. Meanwhile, many are anxious, financially strained, unhealthy, emotionally disconnected, and addicted to destruction more than they think, or quietly disappointed with how life turned out. Another reality: most men after 30 become less idealistic because they have repeated the same cycles too many times. They have seen motivation disappear, seen friendships fade many times, seen workplaces replace people instantly, seen relationships become transactional, and also seen effort not always rewarded. So they become more pragmatic, not deeper, not stronger, just less naive. And physically, the average man after 30 usually starts declining unless, he actively fights it. Less movement, more sitting, more stress, more back pain, worse sleep, more weight gain, lower energy, and less recovery. That's not philosophy, guys. That's statistics in most industrialized societies. Another uncomfortable truth: many men after 30 begin realizing adulthood is mostly maintenance, maintaining income, maintaining health, maintaining relationships, maintaining emotional control, maintaining routines, maintaining the image that life is functioning, because collapse is easier than people think. A normal person can destabilize surprisingly fast. And contrary to motivational culture, most adults are not building empires. Most are negotiating with limitation, trying to secure stability, reduce anxiety, avoid humiliation, trying to keep functioning. Another thing that changes after 30, men notice replacement. Younger workers appear, new trends appear, new technology appears, new social norms appear. A man starts realizing the world does not pose to respect his existence. If he disappears from most workplaces, systems continue normally within hours. That realization affects people more than they admit. And maybe the biggest shift is this: after 30, many men stop expecting life to transform emotionally. They stop waiting to suddenly feel ready. They stop expecting confidence to arrive automatically. They stop believing maturity, feels heroic. For most people, adulthood feels repetitive, financially demanding, and psychologically noisy. Not cinematic, guys, not profound, just continuous responsibility with occasional moments of relief. That's much closer to reality for the average man than the internet version of masculinity.